Dark Covenant, African Folktales. Dark Covenant, African Folktales, Series 1, Episode 1, The Priest's Salvation. In the dying days of Ikaro village, when the sun seemed to forget how to shine and the earth turned against its own children, death walked among us like an old friend who had overstayed his welcome. I was there. I saw it all. And what I'm about to tell you will chill your bones and make you question everything you think you know about salvation. This is a tale of miracles and the terrible price they demand. The sickness came first, creeping through our village like smoke through cracks in a wall. It started with the children. Little Adana, the blacksmith's daughter, woke up one morning with black veins spreading across her skin like the roots of some terrible tree growing inside her. By nightfall, 3 more children bore the same marks. Within a week, 20 souls had perished, their bodies turning gray as ash, their eyes rolling back white as boiled eggs. The village priest performed rituals. The elders consulted the oracle, but nothing worked. The sickness took the young and the old, the righteous and the wicked, with equal hunger. Then came the famine. Our crops, which had fed generations, simply refused to grow. The yams rotted in the ground. The cassava turned to poison in the soil. Even the ancient palm trees began to wither and die. Mothers watched their children's bellies swell with hunger. Men who had once been strong became walking skeletons. We ate rats. We ate insects. We ate things I will not speak of even now. But it was the curse that broke us. Strong men woke screaming in the night, clawing at their own faces. Women walked into the forest and never returned. Neighbor turned against neighbor, brother against brother. The village was dying, not just in body, but in spirit, and we had lost all hope. The king called a meeting of the elders. His ceremonial robes hung loose on his wasted frame. "We are dying," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "We have tried everything. Perhaps it is time to accept that our village is finished." Old Maman and Kechi, who had seen more than 90 rainy seasons, spoke up. "I remember a story my grandmother told me about a time of great darkness in another village. A stranger came, a priest with power beyond understanding. He saved them, but the price was terrible. Some salvation is worse than death." And as if the gods themselves had been listening, that is when he arrived. The high priest called. Father Okonkwo came on a Wednesday, walking the red dust road from the east with 2 women at his side. I saw him first. A tall man in white robes that gleamed in the harsh sunlight, carrying a staff carved from Iroko wood and inlaid with silver that threw light in impossible directions. Behind him walked a woman wrapped in white cloth, her movements graceful and kind. But it was the second woman who caught every eye. Adayazes was beautiful in a way that seemed unnatural, with skin like polished mahogany and eyes that glinted with intelligence that bordered on cunning. She walked beside Father Okonkwo, not behind him, and there was something in her smile that made you uncomfortable, even as you found yourself drawn to her. Word spread quickly. By the time they reached the village square, every person who could still walk had gathered. We must have looked like a congregation of the dead, our hollow eyes staring, our skeletal bodies swaying. Father Okonkwo stood before us, and his presence filled the square. Around his neck hung amulets and charms of every kind, crosses and cowries, bones and beads, symbols from faiths both old and new. When the king approached, the contrast was stark. One wasted by suffering, the other radiating power. "Who are you, stranger?" the king asked, "and what brings you to this place of death?" The high priest called. Father Okonkwo's smile was warm, compassionate. His voice was deep and resonant, the kind that made you want to believe every word. "I am the high priest called Father Okonkwo, a servant of the divine, a walker between worlds, a healer of the sick and the cursed. The spirits have sent me because your cries have reached the heavens. I have come to save you." He paused, raising one finger. "But I will need a place to stay, food for my wives and myself, and complete trust from your people. What I will do requires faith, absolute and unquestioning faith. Can you give me this?" The king looked at the man before him. "What choice did we have?" "You will have whatever you need," the king said. "Save us, the high priest, and we will give you anything." That night changed everything. That night, we witnessed our first miracle. The high priest gathered all the sick in the village square. More than 40 souls, their bodies marked by black veins. Some had to be carried on mats. The first wife, Naoma, moved among them with bowls of water and cloths, cleaning their wounds, whispering comfort. But Adias, as stood, remained an enigma, walking through the village with that strange smile, observing, always observing. I was called to High Priest's house in the evenings. He asked about the history of Ikoro, about the old gods, about ancient legends. Naoma would serve palm wine and ground nuts, but Adiase would sit in the corner, saying nothing, just watching, her eyes gleaming like a cat's. One evening, as I was leaving, Adase followed me outside. The moon was full. "Storyteller," she said, her voice like honey poured over broken glass. "Do you know the story of the man who made a bargain with death?" "There are many such stories," I replied carefully. "Which one do you mean?" She stepped closer. "The one where the man gains the power to heal the sick, but only because he has promised death something in return, something precious." Her perfume was thick and cloying. "Do you know what death asks for in such bargains?" My mouth went dry. "I do not know, my lady." Her smile widened. "Souls. Death always asks for souls. Not just any souls, but innocent souls. Pure souls. The souls of children." She laughed, a sound that made my skin crawl. "But these are just stories, are they not? Just old tales to frighten children at night." That night, I could not sleep. Her words echoed in my mind. The man who made a bargain with death, it was just a story. It meant nothing. The high priest had saved us, but doubt, once planted, grows like a weed. I began to watch, to observe. The high priest never ate in public. Never. When asked, he would smile and say his spiritual practices required fasting. Everyone accepted this. Why would they not? He was a holy man. And then the children began to disappear. It started small. Little Obi, 7 years old, went to fetch water from the stream and never returned. We searched for days. Nothing, not a footprint, not a torn piece of clothing, nothing. Then Kioma, the potter's daughter, vanished from her own home in the night. Her parents woke to find her sleeping mat empty and the door unlatched. No trace. The high priest performed rituals to find them. He consulted the spirits, but they did not return. Within 6 weeks, 5 children had vanished without a trace. Parents no longer let their children play outside. Families barricaded their doors at night. Whispers began. Some said wild animals. Others claimed evil spirits. but everyone avoided the thought that lurked in shadows. What if it was something worse? I decided to follow the high priest. I am old, and old men are often overlooked. 3 nights I followed him as he left his house after midnight, dressed in dark clothing, his staff wrapped in black cloth. He walked into the forest, to the old places where our ancestors once made sacrifices, the forbidden places. The 4th night, I saw what no one should see. The clearing was lit by torches burning with purple flames. In the center stood a stone altar, ancient and stained. Father Okonkwo raised his arms, chanting in that strange tongue. Adias knelt before the altar, her face transformed, her eyes rolled back, and around the altar, in cages made of bone, were the children, all 5 of them, alive but sleeping, their faces peaceful. From the shadows behind the altar, something emerged. I cannot describe it properly because my mind refuses to hold the image. It was impossibly tall, with limbs that bent wrong, and a face that was not a face, but a void. It was ancient and hungry and terrible. This was death, or a demon, or something worse. And Father Okonkwo bowed before it. They spoke, though I could not hear words, only vibrations in my chest. The creature gestured to the caged children. The high priest shook his head. Not yet. Soon, the creature accepted this. Then it turned and looked directly at where I was hiding. I ran. I ran until I reached my hut and collapsed, trembling, weeping. I had seen the truth. The high priest had saved us, but at what cost? He kept the children alive for now, but for how long? I knew I had to tell someone, but who would believe me? High priest was beloved, our Savior. I needed help. And there was only one person whose eyes held doubt. Naoma, the first wife. 3 days later, I found her at the market. I pulled her aside and told her everything. As I spoke, I watched her face, expecting shock. But what I saw chilled me. She already knew. Her eyes filled with tears, but there was no surprise. "How long have you known?" I whispered. "From the beginning," she said softly. "Before Ikoro, there were other villages. Before you, there were others. Before these children, so many others." Her voice broke. "I am bound to him by dark covenant. I cannot leave. I cannot stop him. I can only watch and pray for forgiveness." "Why does he do it?" Naoma looked around, then leaned close. "My husband was once a real priest, a good man, but his daughter fell ill and died. It broke him. He sought forbidden knowledge and found that creature. It offered him power to heal any sickness in exchange for a tithe. 7 innocent souls from every village he saved. 7 children kept alive until the dark moon, when they would be sacrificed. And Adais? She is the demon's representative sent to ensure he fulfills his bargain. She chooses which children to take. She enjoys it. "We have to stop this," I said. "There may be one way," she finally said. "If someone he trusted were to betray him utterly, to expose him publicly, that betrayal might satisfy the demon enough to release the children. But I am bound. Someone else would have to do it, using information I provide." We formulated a plan. In 3 days, during the evening gathering, I would reveal everything. Naoma would provide me with journals and relics the night before. I would present them publicly, expose the monster among us. Those 3 days were the longest of my life. But I thought about those children in their cages, and I knew I had to act. The night before the revelation, Naoma came to my hut with a bundle. "This is everything," she whispered. "The journals, the relics, all the proof you need. Tomorrow, You must make them believe." I spent that night reading high priest's journals, village after village, town after town, everywhere the same pattern: arrival, miracles, children disappearing, sacrifice, departure. I found the entry about his daughter Obiageli, 12 years old when sickness took her, his grief, his rage, his descent into forbidden knowledge. Reading this, I felt unexpected pity. He had not started as a monster. He had been a father who loved too much. But he had become the thing he hated. The evening gathering came. The entire village assembled. High priest stood in his white robes, radiating benevolence. Naoma stood behind him. Adaeze stood beside him, that slight smile on her lips. The king called the gathering to order. "High priest will now bless us." "Stop!" I shouted, stepping forward. "Do not bless them with your poisoned words, deceiver!" The square went silent. The high priest's expression remained calm, but I saw alarm flicker in his eyes. Adaze's smile widened with excitement. "Storyteller," the high priest said gently, "what troubles you?" "Everyone must hear this," I shouted. I pulled out the bundle, holding up journals and relics. "This man is not a holy priest. He is a demon worshiper, a monster who made a bargain with an ancient evil. He heals us only so he can sacrifice our children." The crowd murmured, confused. The king stood, his face angry. "You speak madness." "I speak truth. The 5 children who disappeared are not dead, not yet. They are in the forest, in cages of bone. I have seen this with my own eyes. Here, in these journals, he has documented everything, every village, every group of children killed. Read them." I threw the journals into the crowd. Villagers picked them up and began reading. Their expressions changed from confusion to horror. "He speaks truth," Adamu the hunter whispered. "It is all here, written in his own hand." The murmuring grew louder, angrier. "Those journals are fabrications," Father Okonkwo said, his calm cracking. "Then explain this." I held up a bone carved with symbols that hurt to look at. "This is a fragment of the demon you serve." Father Eze examined it and dropped it as if burned. "Abomination. This is an artifact of the old darkness. No righteous man would possess such a thing." The crowd pressed forward, angry, demanding answers. And then Adaze laughed. She laughed loudly, clapping her hands. "Oh, this is wonderful. Yes, he speaks the truth, all of it. Your precious high priest is exactly what the storyteller says. And I am the demon servant, the one who marks your children. And some of you are already doomed. I have been poisoning your food. In another month, you will be sick again, begging for more miracles." The crowd erupted in rage. Men rushed forward with weapons. "Kill them!" "Wait!" High Priest screamed, raising his staff. Light blazed, and a wave of force threw villagers back. "You fools! Yes, I made a bargain, but I did it for you. Without me, you would have died. I saved you." "At what cost?" I shouted. "How many children must die so we can live?" "As many as it takes," High Priest roared. "My daughter died because I could not save her. I will not be helpless again. If children must be sacrificed so that the greater number can live, then so be it." "But it is not your price to pay," Naoma said quietly. Everyone looked at her. "Those children have families. They have futures. You have become the very thing that destroyed you, husband. You have become death." High Priest stared at her. You helped him?" "Yes," Naoma said. I could not remain silent any longer. This must end. Suddenly, Neoma screamed. Black veins spread across her skin. She collapsed, convulsing, blood pouring from her eyes. The binding covenant was claiming its price. High priest ran to her, dropping his staff, cradling her. "No, I will save you." But it was too late. She looked up at him with those kind eyes. "Finally," she whispered, "finally I am free." She died in his arms. The sky darkened unnaturally. The temperature plummeted. From the forest came a sound that made every living thing feel the presence of death approaching. The demon was coming, and the price for broken bargains would be paid in blood. What happened next? How the demon was faced? Whether the children were saved or sacrificed? Whether our village survived or was consumed? That is a story for the next episode. Join us next time for episode 2 of Dark Covenant, where an impossible challenge is given. 7 riddles hold the key to salvation, and a king must match wits with a demon servant to save his village from complete annihilation. Until then, remember, when miracles come too easily, always ask what price is being paid, and ask who will pay it. This is Dark Covenant. Sleep well